Assalamu alaikum everyone. I'm Zishan Raja. I'm the founder of 101 Incredible Women of Pakistan. And on this platform, every time we've got beautiful members coming and sharing their journeys with us. And today, we've got a lovely person and a surprise for all of you. Among us, we got the First Lady, Begum Perveen Sarwar. Thank you very much for coming on this platform and inviting us at your Sarwar Foundation office. A beautiful office. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
To start with your journey, you were born in Pakistan, but then you traveled when you were very young. Can you tell us about your journey, please?
I was born in Pakistan to a middle class family. They were farmers, and my father left for the UK from India, Jalandhar. So wahan se, you want me to speak in English? So he traveled from Jalandhar and to the UK, and when he got to Scotland, he found this very small fishing town that he fell in love with. There was very few people living there, very small community, and he found it more like home because where he left from was by the sea, beside the water, and there's a sea side in Lossiemouth. So he lived there, came back. He was building his home for the rest of the family when the partition of Pakistan and India took place. So then my family, parents migrated to Pakistan, to Punjab, and I was born in Punjab. And at the age of 4, me and my mother and the rest of the family joined my father in UK.
All right. And then in 2013, you came back. And why was that?
We returned while we were living in Pakistan, the small fishing town that I grew up in. I was the only Muslim girl in school. And we still fasted. I learned the Quran from my brothers and my sister and my father. And when we fasted, we invited the local community to fast with us. They celebrated Eid with us because my father wanted us to remember our heritage, to remember our roots. Then in 1976, I got married to Muhammad Sarwar, and we started the business together. And once that business was established, my husband then decided to go into politics. And when he entered politics, it changed our lives in such a way that the country that I loved, the country that I thought I belonged to, there was a surge of hatred, there was a surge of Islamophobia and racism that I never suffered to that degree in my life. I suffered it as a child, very few name calling, but when my husband stepped into politics, we had abusive telephone calls, we had hate mail. I had to put cameras outside my house, we had to put electric gates in. Constantly we were being followed. I was being followed to see if they could get something on me. But we won the election, the huge majority, alhamdulillah. And then my husband served 3 terms as an MP in Westminster. And then he decided to resign and wanted to do something for his country. So in 2013, when we landed in Pakistan, although I'd come to Pakistan quite often, I did all the shopping for my children here, all the jewelry here, we did all the holidays here. It was very difficult for someone who had lived in Scotland, who had grown up there. My Urdu wasn't that fluent. And coming to Pakistan and moving into the governor house, seeing the huge size of it and compact, for the first 3 days I spent in one room because I wasn't sure where to start and what to do. But I remembered my father's words that nothing cannot be achieved if you put your mind to it. And his teachings that, always focus on the things that you believe in, focus on the things that you are good at, and never shy away from something that you know that you can do. It doesn't matter what the journey is. So that's what took me in my next journey. I then started visiting schools and hospitals. I went to rural areas, and when I visited the rural areas, that's when I found that there was a huge amount of work that needed to be done, and it could be done. Do you want me to carry on?
Yes, please. It's so inspirational that I don't know how to stop you.
Okay, so when I went to the village, my nanda lives in a small village called Slimpur in Tobatexing, and the whole village came to gather around to see the governor's wife, and we were all sitting. And through that conversation, I found that most of the women, especially if they became a widow, their family didn't want to know them and their in-laws didn't want to know them. Many of them were cast away because they felt that they didn't get their heritage and they felt that they could not provide for her or for the children. So that's what started me on the journey of Hunarga, and I started finding madrasas, schools, any room that I could get in a rural area, and I would put sewing machines there, then we would put computing classes, and we would start self-grooming that would go on to beauty. And we started training women, and through Hunarga we've trained 20,000 women. But I want to take Hunarga to the next step. I know that many of the centers that are running, women are earning and they're making sales online. Many of the girls that are being trained through Hunarga are now working in colleges and schools and started their own small businesses. But what I would like to do with Hunarga is start our own label and generate some kind of income that will go back into Hunarga and to help those women who need that little bit of push. Because what I want for women is not to be slaves and work for me. I want them to be independent. I want them to be confident. I want them to go off and work from home or start their own businesses. And because many of the women, when I speak to them, they tell me that their husbands now respect them more. They tell me that now they can pay for that little bit of education. They can put food on the table, and they have earned that self-respect, which is very important for mental stress and very important for any woman or any member of society.
MashaAllah, doing so much. How do you balance between home life and all this political life that you're spending as well?
Home life, when I first came to Pakistan, and then we only lived in the governor house for a year and a half, and then my husband decided to resign as the governor. We moved into our own house, and I left the house open to the staff. There were pieces missing, there were things that were missing, and it took me a little while to budget everything. It took me a little while to put everything in place so that I could see where my money was going. But I left it to Allah, because I know that if I was to sit at home and do nothing and stress about what is happening around about me, that is not the life I want to lead for myself. So I've taught my staff that if they need anything, they come to me, and I will try to help them to the best of my ability. But I want to focus on the change that we can bring in our country, because in our country there are no shortage of people who want to give money. There is no shortage of volunteers. There is no shortage who want to see a better country. But unfortunately, our leaders and our elected members have not focused on building the country. They've focused on themselves more, which I feel hard in saying that, but it's a reality. So I want to focus on what we can do as a country and where areas can be worked on. For example, the Clean Water Project. When we moved into Governor House, 36% of the water in Governor House was arsenic. And so that was the first water filtration plant that my husband installed. Then we did Gangaram Hospital, then we did Data Bigar, we did Darul Shafkat, and we are the largest providers of clean drinking water in the whole of Pakistan. But after doing that, there was a strong lobby that we were sitting in Governor House and we were working in Sarwar Foundation, whereas people that came to us in Governor House, they wanted us to help them. They didn't come to me to give me money. They came to ask where we could help them and how we could help them. So this is why I started the Sarwar Foundation office. I come here 5 days. I only go to Governor House 1 day to have my meetings. I feel that the work that I'm doing in my office is more important than to go and sit in Governor House and meet people. So the work that we're doing from here, like for example, the Clean Water Project, I then, through Sarwar Foundation, invited all the other organizations that are working in Pakistan in Governor House and asked them how we could work together. So all the organizations are now working with ABIPAC authority, which is under the government. And what we've done is we've mapped out every single water filtration plant that is working and that is not working, so that all the organizations can come together and they can work in their own areas. All those that are not working, we can repair them. And if they're not repairable, then we will just leave them. And so what we've done is that way, it means that where one organization has maybe installed 10 water filtration plants, I will not go into that area. I will find an area that has no water supply. So we in fact are reaching out to people that maybe we could not have reached out to. So that is the beauty of working collectively with all the other organizations. So I'm pleased to be working with ABIPAC Authority on clean water. And also I'm the one that launched the hepatitis campaign in October 2018 through the Sarwar Foundation. And prior to the hepatitis campaign, I was working in rural areas with health camps, and my health camps were designed for mother and child. The reason being because if I was to just put a health camp banner up, I found that women didn't come. It was mainly male. So I started with the mother and child, but then we worked on giving free glasses, hepatitis, cancer awareness, polio, and free glasses. And even we had an ultrasound machine that we took with us, and we even do dental. So it's like a mini hospital that we take with us. And I have 12 organizations who are now working with me on the health camps, whereas 4 years ago, I was the only one, and I would have a little table with one doctor, and I would get the locals to come. But Alhamdulillah, we have 12 different organizations. And now on the hepatitis campaign, we are now working in several areas in Punjab, in Tubatek Singh, Chichavatni, Sahiwal, Faisalabad and Lahore. And I'm looking to go to Jhelum, and I'm looking to move into Balochistan, because when I went to Balochistan the last time, I met a lot of people there, and I requested them to make Balochistan committee like what we've done. We've done Punjab Development Network in Pakistan, and this is a network that has over 160 organizations, but in the top 11 to 12 organizations that are working. And so what we've done Punjab Development Balochistan Development Network, and we will connect with them and we will guide them how they can work with us, so we can copy the same projects that we are doing in Punjab and take them into Balochistan, so that we can work with one another and we can spread through the other areas of Pakistan. And through the hepatitis campaign, the government, I've signed an MOU with the government, and the government provides the PCR. The government provides the medicine, but we do the groundwork. And we have several hospitals in Lahore, several hospitals in Faisalabad, Chichavatni and Rajana, my 2 hospitals. And we've started a macro-elimination hepatitis clinic, and we've started treating patients for free. Through my hospital, we've treated 50,000 patients for free. And so we will continue this, because if one person has hepatitis, it's spread throughout the family, which leads to cancer. So that's another one of my projects that we started.
Begum Sahiba, please tell us about your role as a mother.
My role as a mother, when I became a mother, that was the best gift that any woman can ask from Allah. And when I was having my first child, I prayed to Allah for a daughter, because I had 2 nieces and I was missing them so much. I wanted a daughter, and Allah blessed me with a daughter. And then I have 3 sons, and I'm also a grandmother. And bringing my children up, I had a very much a friendship relationship with my children, because I feel that you need to be accessible, and you need to have that relationship that your child can come to you with anything. It does not matter how large, it does not matter how small. So I have a very good relationship with my children. Alhamdulillah, they're all grown up. They're all married, happily married. 2 of my sons are in business. My youngest son is the leader of the Labour Party in Scotland, which is the first Muslim ethnic minority leader in the whole of Europe. And so that is, tremendous history for the Muslim community all over the world, because it does not matter where we stay, we still want to make our mark. We need to work for our communities. We need to make sure that they integrate and we have an understanding and our needs are filled. So as a mother, I miss my children, but working here in Pakistan, what I say to my children is that as a mother, I've done what I could for them, and now I would like to use my time and help those children that need help, to maybe help change their lives, to put them in the right direction. And that is something I really enjoy, interacting with them. And when they see that somebody who's grown up in Scotland and has come to Pakistan, who very much had the role of a father. My father played a huge role in my upbringing. He taught me how to do business, how to drive. In fact, he taught me how to cook. He taught me how to make roti. And when I'm meeting women in Pakistan, and I say this to the fathers out there and say to them that you need to have that connection, you need to have that relationship with your daughters. Very often they come to me and they say to me that we now go home and have a conversation with our daughters, because before we used to say, "Beta, go and see what your mama is doing," and we used to spend our time with the sons. But we feel that we now have that connection with our daughters, which is very important. We want to make them into strong women. And I also feel that when your son gets married and the daughter-in-law comes into your family, we should not try to change her. We should not try to mold her into something that we want. We need to give them time to understand us and for us to understand her, and to give her that space and that time to fit into the family. Because very often we start telling them, I used to do this and I used to do that. Everybody has a way of doing things and everybody has that connection. And I think if you welcome them into the family and let them grow into that family and become a part of that family, you will soon know that they do things the way we want them to do, because they feel that they've got the confidence and there's nobody to hinder them and there's nobody to stop them from what they want to do. And I think that is a part of keeping families together and making sure that we understand one another and we value the other person's thoughts.
Who is your female role model in your life?
My female role model, if I was to look back in history, there's been a lot of role models, because I think at the very beginning it's your grandparents. And I was one of those girls that didn't have the opportunity to see her grandparents. I met my mom's mother at the age of 17 when I came to Pakistan, and she was widowed before my mother was born. My mother was born 3 months after my grand became a widow. She brought her children up. She was very respectful, independent woman, and I could see the strength in her. And then from then on, my mother was a woman of very few words, and she liked to listen more and talk less. And what I learned from my mother was that sometimes when you feel that you're in a situation and you feel that you can't explain what you want to get across, it's better to stay quiet at that time and find the right time and then put your feelings and what you want to do across. And I think that helped when I got married, that I found my place, my position. And alhamdulillah, in my family, every time there is a wedding, every time there is something, when I go there, they relax, they say, "I'm there, I will take over." I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but that's, I have a huge understanding, and I'm blessed. I have so many friends in Pakistan, I have friends here, and I think every woman is a role model in their own way, because they are bringing up families, they are, struggling in life, and whether it's to educate their children, whether it's to feed their families, whether it's in their jobs, because society has become such that we are still very male dominated, and we have to work that extra bit harder to make sure that we reach our goals. And I think every woman in their own way is a role model for me.
MashaAllah. Very inspiring. And again, we would like to know your relationship with Sarwar Saab.
My relationship with Sarwar Saab, truly, from the bottom of my heart, I'm truly blessed that I have such an understanding husband. I won't say that we never argue, because we would not be normal if we never argued. We do argue. If there are things that I feel that I believe in, sometimes it takes a little while for me to make him understand, or for him to make me understand, but we get there in the end, and our focus is the same. We want to help communities, we want to work. We've worked together in our business, we've worked together in politics, we've worked together in charity, and even now in our lives, there are so many projects that we do together, but we give each other that space. And we also have that trust that I think every couple needs to have. I do not question my husband where he's going. I do not question him when he comes back where he has been. I trust him. And there are things that, I'll say, you haven't given me time, or where have you been, that's normal in life. But we trust one another. And coming back to marriage, my father, my brother's marriages were all arranged. My eldest sister got married at the age of 16. I myself was engaged to Sarwar Saab at the age of 17. And my father, because I grew up in Scotland, because I had that strong relationship with my father, and because I had questioned him, how can a woman, not knowing anybody, get married to that person and then live the rest of their lives with that person? I think taking that into my question, my father brought me to Pakistan at the age of 17, and I met Sarwar Saab for the first time. He is my cousin. He came to receive us at the airport. We went home. Every weekend, because he was studying in Faisalabad, every weekend he would come have breakfast with my father. We would sit together. I very rarely sat when we were sitting together. He would ask my father's permission to talk to me, because I was brought up, even living in Lossiemouth, I was brought up that we had to have that little bit of distance, the way our culture is, and the way my father had that culture. And then when it came to the marriage proposal, I remember my aunt asking my father, and my father saying that let us go back to the UK so we can discuss it with the rest of the family. And my aunt at that time had applied to go to UK because my uncle was living in UK. So my father had said that you need to go and speak to my brother, then decide between yourselves and then come. And then when we reached Scotland, the words of my father was that he could tell by the conversations that he had with the governor that he was wanting to marry me, that he could see through the conversation. And according to my father, it was always better to marry someone who wants to really marry you from the heart. So that was my half decision from my father. And because I respected my father, because I had such an understanding with my father, I knew that my father would have given it very much thought before even putting the question to me, before even asking me, because several other proposals had come, but my father had come to me and said, oh, this proposal has come, and even if I just said, I think I'm too young to get married, my father never questioned me again and never raised it again. So it was only when it came to Sarwar Saab that we had long conversations, long discussions, and before the decision was made.
Beautifully done. You are doing a lot for women empowerment as well. And again, this is the main chapter that is there in Sarwar Foundation too. Please elaborate on that.
My take on the Sarwar Foundation is we started it in 2000. The first hospital in Rajana opened in 2005. And I remember visiting Pakistan when I had my two children, Faiza and Atif. And we were in the village and I could hear the screams of a woman all night. And when I got up in the morning and I questioned, the locals, why were these screams during the night? Because the house wasn't far away from our house. A woman was going through childbirth. She died giving through childbirth and the child died. And the conversation I remember having with my husband was, there needs to be a hospital in this area. No other woman should go through that. And being a mother, and to my surprise, the governor told me that that was his wish as a child, that he had broken his leg, and his leg had been tied between two pieces of wood for 6 months, and it wasn't joined properly. And it wasn't until my father came to Pakistan, then took him to another doctor in Faisalabad, and that leg was re-broken and refixed, and he had about 9 months of pain. So that was the beginning of our journey to open the first hospital in Rajana. And then we went on to open the second hospital in Chichawati. Then we went on to open the school in Peermouth. And while living in the UK, I was a part of Glasgow Muslim Women's Association, that we used to come together and fundraise. We fundraised for Bosnia, we fundraised for Gaza. I helped to fundraise for cancer research because my eldest sister was diagnosed with breast cancer. And I'd never ever heard of cancer because when you're growing up, you don't pay that much attention. And my sister survived, but that took me on my journey that I used to campaign for breast cancer, we used to fundraise, we used to do awareness camps. And I continued that when I came to Pakistan. I have cancer awareness, which we do for about 2-3 months every year. I've got several lady doctors who go with me to different colleges. We get the teachers and the students to stand in a line, and we teach them how to take those 5 minutes out to do a self-assessment that could save their lives. So that was something that I continued from what I was doing in the UK. And also I went to Gaza with my son, who is now in politics. He was 12 years old at that time. My daughter and I and Anas went. We met Yasser Arafat at 4:30 in the morning, and because of security, it was very difficult to meet him during the day, so we were ready, we met him. And we had a little donation that we wanted to give for the orphanage, the girls' orphanage, because my husband had visited Palestine and he met these two young girls that had survived when the Israelis had raided their house, and they had hid under the bed and they had survived. We could not adopt the girls because we wanted to adopt them at that time, but unfortunately we weren't able to adopt them. And that was why we wanted to go and give a donation for that orphanage. And I continued my work when I came back through the Muslim Women's Association, fundraising and working in special needs, working in care homes. My children used to volunteer and go to the care homes. And I think that was the reason my son took his first step into politics after visiting Gaza. He wanted to do something for communities. He wanted people to know that Islam is a religion of peace. Islam does not teach us to kill. It does not teach us to hate one another, but basically it teaches us to respect one another. And if you take one life, it's like killing the whole of humanity. And this is what I have installed in my children and my grandchildren, that we need to learn to respect one another. It doesn't matter if we have different views, we need to learn to respect one another. And I think as a mother, I think it's very important to put that into our children.
That's true. What was the most difficult decision in your life?
Most difficult decision in my life, I think, if I'm honestly being honest, was moving to Pakistan. And being a mother living in the UK, as I said before, it was difficult for me to leave my children. As I said, I'm very close to my children. While my husband was in politics, the media there referred to me as being the rock of the family, because they seen through all the hatred, through all the negativity in the media, that I was the one that kept the family together, and I was very supportive. I was also, it was also written about me that I was an asset for my husband, and then it was written that I was the rock of the family. And when I left, I wanted my children to be close to one another, not make money come first, not make little things come first, but to concentrate what keeps us together as a family. So before leaving, I had sat them all down and I told them the only way that I could find my feet on the ground or find what I wanted to do or find any peace of mind, that I would need to have their word that they would work together, and doesn't matter what it was, they would sit together and they would resolve it together, the three brothers, and nothing would divide them. And it was until my children said, "Mother, you do not need to worry. We will make sure that we are there for one another," that I took the step to come to Pakistan.
Oh, that's sweet. So it was a collaborated step.
Yes.
That's very nice. Again, a message for the women out there.
Message for the woman out there, I would say to every woman out there, there is nothing impossible in life. I know that there might be hurdles, there might be difficulties, especially in Pakistan, especially in rural areas, for those women who are struggling to feed their families. There are still families out there that only live on one meal a day. But I would say to them, please do some skill development, learn something, because we can all support our husbands, we can all support our families. We need to move out of this tradition that a woman can't earn and can't contribute. We need to move away from that, and we need to work together as families, supporting one another and fulfilling what we want to do in our lives.
Beautifully done. Again, can you tell us a little more about this meeting that you had?
During COVID, we invited all the organizations to come together, the organizations that we were already working with under Punjab Development Network. And the way all the organizations came together, it helped in a way that we divided areas, that each organization was going to take a certain area and work on that area to make sure that we reached out to maximum people, that nobody went hungry during the lockdown and during COVID. So I was given Chichavatni, Tubatek Singh, Sahiwal, part of Faisabad and part of Lahore, a part of the Sarwar Foundation that we wanted to do. So we opened the Governor House and we invited people to donate. We had trucks and trucks of food that people donated. We had PPEs that people were struggling to get, but yet we were having truckloads delivered in Governor House. And from there, we were sending them to people and doctors that needed them. And I was a part of that struggle and a part of that team, the teamwork that we did. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank every single volunteer, every single donor, every single person who made sure, even the women who made sure that they fed their families next door to them, and all the organizations that came together to help those people. And then they decided that they were going to give an award to the top 11 or 12 organizations. And also, I will share with you that all the other organizations, all the chairs of all the other organizations are male. And the Sarwar Foundation, I was the only female amongst all these men that we were working together. But I felt blessed because we were all brothers. We were all a team. We wanted to do something together, and our main goal was to make sure that we reached out to those people, whether they didn't have any sanitation, whether they didn't have any masks or PPEs or bathing soap, because most of the people in prisons didn't even have bathing soap. So we were trying to target those, and also to keep my hospitals open, to make sure that my teachers were teaching our students online. And I was trying to cope with all that and play my role and making sure that we got our food parcels out. And I had a huge team that was helping me and making sure that everything was done. And that's how I got this award. But this award does not belong to me. It belongs to every single volunteer and every single donor and every single person who made sure that we took the rations to each and every one. I even got a lorry from here to the border, the line of control border between Kashmir and Pakistan. And luckily we had a team that was visiting from the UK, and they got in touch with me, and my lorry loads went to the border. They then took them and made sure that they delivered it to the people living in the valleys. And sometimes it took them 8 hours to getting from one valley to the next valley, to make sure that they kept themselves safe, because there was fighting during the night, but they made sure that that food was delivered. So this is for them, not for me.
So a big hand for the lady.
Thank
I'm
you.
so impressed. Thank you ever so much. The whole conversation was so touching, very down to earth.
Thank you.
A true picture of a woman of Pakistan who is a lady in her own self, graceful, pretty and beautiful as a soul, and a mother who is tedious to detail and had the most difficult decision to make when she had to leave them, just like one of us. Again, a wife who is the solid rock behind the husband and making all the beautiful changes in Pakistan. We are so proud of you, and I think I take you as our parent of Pakistan, because such a beautiful couple who is taking care of the strength of Pakistan and having such beautiful values and principles and ethics and the character that we are looking forward to have in our own children and the generation next. We find in you, the First Lady, Begum Sarwar, Mrs. Sarwar.
Thank you. Thank you. Can I share with you that I very seldom use the title the First Lady, because I feel that there is only one being, and that is Allah, who is the powerful, and the rest of us are all equal. Allah Ta'ala created us, and I want to connect with people, and I want to connect them as an appa, I want to connect them as an aunt, I want to connect with them as a friend, and I want to connect with people and bring people together so we can work together and change lives.
And I think the main true picture of the Sarwar Foundation and Pakistan is this couple. I think they're being down-rooted, being very, very strongly to our values and the culture of Pakistan and our religion, and the family net that they have really worked on has brought people closer to our heart, closer to their foundation, closer to our country, Pakistan. Thank you very much, Perveen Sarwar.
Thank you. Thank you.